General Anderson and Natalia Sokolova's new alliance has led to the True Sons being embedded into the Black Tusk. They have been helping Sokolova grow her fleet of hovercrafts in DC. There are concerns that this could lead to increased mortar strike activity. Division agents have been tasked with taking down a new team formed through this new alliance. They are heavily armed and know exactly where to attack in order to do the maximum amount of damage. Charles Chunks Crawford had a background in the Navy as an ENT, or Electronics Technician Nuclear Power, before being recruited by the Black Tusk. He was highly skilled at tending to reactors on submarines, and preferred deep sea over the surface. He was known as Chunks when he first entered the Navy because of his severe seasickness. He discovered that he could handle subterranean life better than life on a surface ship, and asked to be transferred to the Nukes. Considered as the Navy's best and brightest, Nukes are known for being a bit eccentric, with some struggling to handle the stress and demands of the job. But Chunks embraced this position and saw himself as the ideal nuke. However, beneath his seemingly harmless nickname and impressive technical skills, lurked a disturbing and unsettling personality. Chunks was known to have control issues and an insatiable desire for power and control over others. His sadistic tendencies were evident in his disregard for value of human life. He would often take pleasure in manipulating and dominating his subordinates, treating them like mere tools to be used for his own benefit. In his mind, the ends always justified the means, no matter how many lives were sacrificed in the process. His twisted behavior made him a feared and respected member of the Black Tusk. His superiors appreciated his unwavering loyalty and willingness to carry out orders without question. Chunks may have been a master at tending to reactors, but his true talent lay in his ability to manipulate and control those around him.
We're set up on the Potomac, Miss Sokolova. Everything's in working order.
But?
Morale is low.
Main complaint?
The food. We got plenty of MREs, but all we got are MREs. The crew is getting enough to eat, but it's not enjoyable.
You want me to find you a chef?
That's excessive. But if we could get some fresh food, it would go a long way towards boosting morale.
You want salads?
Yes.
There are plenty of wild edibles by the river.
Or we could just take the campus.
In time. For now, if you want a salad, go forage one. How's morale?
Great.
Your team enjoying foraging?
Not exactly.
I told you to leave the campus alone.
We did.
I don't need you drawing unwanted attention before we're ready.
We found a small community north of the city.
Any agents?
No. All civilians. Some kind of prepper or homesteading community. They were isolated and well hidden.
Not that well hidden.
We spotted 3 of them fishing and tracked them back to camp with a drone.
Occupy or raid?
Occupy. Left a couple of guards to keep their operation going. We can rely on weekly harvest from the farm for the troops in DC. And they've already put up a fair amount for winter.
Do you need replacements for the guards?
Not yet. But we could use transpo if you want to supply the other teams. Is it true?
Is what true?
What people are saying about St. Louis?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Scuttlebutt is there was an attack.
You're going to have to be more specific.
Outcasts and rogue agents working together.
What would the outcasts be doing in St. Louis?
You tell me.
You're acting paranoid.
Do we need to worry about radiation poisoning?
From St. Louis?
From outcasts?
No.
Are you sure?
Yes. If you're really worried, get a Geiger counter.
Where am I supposed to get one of those?
Department of Interior, Parks and Recreation, your prepper group, a spy museum, the power plant. Pick your poison.
On first listen, these comms may not seem very significant, but the last one in particular is actually referencing events that played out in the Division Recruited novel. This is confirming that the game is playing out alongside the novels, and it's quite cool to see the crossovers here. To give some background, Rowan is a former Division agent turned rogue, and was once a part of the cell of agents that the novel follows. Rowan's family had been killed following the outbreak, like so many others. But she was led to believe that the true sons were responsible due to the events that played out on Roosevelt Island, when in reality, this was a lie, told to her by the cell leader. Her family were sent into a quarantine, but it wasn't the JTF or the true sons who killed them. After the outcasts took over and seized control of the camp, the division launched a strike, and her family was caught in the crossfire and killed. The division killed a family of an agent, and that was hidden from her. She would go on to weaponize a sample of the green poison and then release it into the water supply of an encampment of True Sons. The True Sons were decimated, but not before they had spread it to 3 nearby civilian communities. Hundreds of people died. But Rowan would then find out the truth of what actually happened to her family, and she took the betrayal hard. 2 division agents were dispatched to bring her in for questioning. She killed both and then disappeared. Her actions drew the attention of the outcasts. They approved of her measures, and given that they are now leaderless, she obviously offered them something in return for their help. The attack in St. Louis happened while the cell was in pursuit of Rowan, who was on her way to attack one of the SHD cores. There were explosions, and the buildings around them started to crumble, and this is where Isaac announced, "Warning, radiation detected." The outcasts were using dirty bombs. Now it makes sense that Chunks is so concerned about this. Being a former Navy nuclear technician, he is more than well aware of the dangers of radiation. I don't think the story has caught up with what happened at the end of Recruited, so I won't talk about that anymore in this video. However, given Sokolova's response to this, there could be more crossovers to come regarding the outcasts, and I'm going to speculate more on this in another video soon. The story of Chunks' demise began with a tip received by the division agents. According to their intel, Chunks was hiding somewhere within the West Potomac Park of Washington, D.C. The agents set out to take down the Black Tusk outposts one by one until they found themselves at the Lincoln Memorial. The Black Tusk had fortified the area heavily, and it seemed like a daunting task for the agents to get through. But they were determined to stop Chunks, and slowly but surely, they made their way through the facility. Despite facing numerous enemies, including heavily armed guards and warhounds, the agents were relentless in their pursuit. Finally, they came face to face with their target. Chunks appeared to be caught off guard and didn't put up much resistance. The agents swiftly cleared out his bodyguards, and in no time, Chunks was eliminated. Firstly, let's talk about the castle settlement. It has been years since the settlement was first attacked by the True Sons, using a weaponized version of DC-62. But to be fair, in-game it's only been a few months. There have been rumours around the castle settlement, but I haven't paid much attention, as there wasn't anything official to back it up. My first thoughts when we were directed there in-game, there is more to the story. We don't need another settlement, we've been fine without it so far. However, it does paint the picture that perhaps the JTF and civilians are doing a little better in DC than we've been led to believe up until now. I've always felt that the existing settlements, and even the White House, were barely holding on at this point. But if they're able to divert this much manpower and other resources, perhaps things aren't as grim as they've seemed over the last few months in-game. However, like I just said, I believe there is more to this settlement. When running around and checking out the compound, you can see a lot of work going on. Comms being set up, electricity, foundations for buildings, farming spots, plus a number of JTF who look like they're just over this shit, and probably should have just called in sick. The underground area seems to have been locked off, but there is another way down there. Heading onto the street, you can find this entranceway that leads you directly under the settlement. There are no guards or anything, but there are doors to be opened. It still works in the same way as the settlement, as in you cannot use weapons, etc., except there really is nothing down there. I've been through it a number of times, and there's nothing, except for a few unmarked civilians. But back up in the main section, you can find a crafting table and a recalibration station. This immediately struck me as odd, as there are only so many locations that have this, and the other 2 DC settlements certainly don't. From everything I'm seeing here, the area feels incomplete, not just because they're currently rebuilding the place, but that there is far more planned for the area in the near future. I feel like a lot of the assets here are just placeholders for the next few months, where eventually this place will be of far greater significance to the story, and I'll expand on this idea further a little later in the video. When first jumping into Season 11, we meet Manny for the usual target brief, but then we are immediately sent to the castle to meet Wally. There has been an increase of hunter drone activity in DC, and she has managed to hack into a couple of them, revealing some intel. Now, this is obviously the way that the main comms are going to be acquired this season, but it's good to hear the hunters are still being featured in the story. Anyway, the first 2 comms we've received through this intel follows a similar path of the intel received in the Chunks manhunt.
What have you heard, Stovepipe?
Rumors of outcasts working with rogue agents outside of DC.
I spoke with Cal yesterday, and he has assured me that the rumors are just rumors.
The report out of St. Louis?
A complete fabrication. Nothing to worry about. Even if it were true, it's an anomaly, not a trend. Nothing for you to worry about.
What about supplies going through the area?
We have alternate routes. There is no danger of shortages, if that's what you're worried about.
Hey, you talked to Chunks?
I have. I assure you, there are no shortages, and we have more than enough to sustain us. We are in this for the long haul.
The first one covers something I discussed in the Chunks manhunt video. I'll have a link to this in the top right. But essentially, Stovepipe is asking if these rumors are true. Based on the Recruited novel, they are 100% true. Yet for some reason, Natalia, or perhaps McManus, is denying it.
I want to assure you that this is merely a hypothetical question.
Okay.
Hypothetically, what would happen to a mortar operator if they were to use a launcher that had previously housed a dirty bomb?
Too many factors to consider. Exposure time, amount of radioactive material, amount of transfer, what kind of particulate?
It wouldn't be instantly fatal?
Of course not. We're exposed to radiation every day. By the time you're showing symptoms of radiation poisoning, it's generally too late.
Thank you, Chunks.
Why are you asking?
No reason. I just like to be prepared for all scenarios.
If you're worried about exposure at the plant, you should start taking iodine to protect your thyroid.
That's very useful information.
This to me shows that Natalia doesn't believe what McManus is saying to her about the events in St. Louis. Or maybe her and McManus are just trying to cover this up from their crew for some reason. What's more interesting about this piece of intel is what Chunks said at the end there, about taking iodine to help protect the thyroid. The reason this is interesting is because of something that Wally said after completing the Chunks manhunt.
Guess we should start looking for natural sources of iodine just in case. Should probably start eating more fish and seaweed from Mari's exhibits at the aquarium.
It took me a few seconds to click when I first heard this. To begin with, I thought this was an unknown name that would become more important over the course of this manhunt, as they don't tend to give names of characters unless there is some sort of significance to their story going forward. But some of you may remember this name come up in one of the classified assignments that came out in Year 1. This particular one was called Central Aquarium. You could be forgiven for forgetting what this was all about, and it certainly had me looking through the others for a bit of a refresher. But long story short, we were there to rescue Mari Singh and a number of other civilians at the aquarium that was being taken over by hyenas. But the rescue wasn't really the significant part. I'm not going to play all of the comms as this could be a standalone video on its own, but the intel from this assignment showed the interaction between Mari and her colleagues. They were short on supplies and worried about what they were going to do going forward when it came to feeding the animals under their care. Everything was locked down. They weren't able to get trucks in, and they couldn't simply take the animals away. They contemplated feeding the smaller fish to the large ones and mammals, but this would only be a temporary solution. Mari eventually acknowledged that the city is full of hungry people and that food is running out. Perhaps the best solution was to honor the animals and provide them as food for the hungry population, rather than just let the animals starve to death. But it wasn't just all about killing off the larger animals and feeding them to the people. The aquarium has a sustainable fishing program. They have the facilities to provide a communal fishery, a source of food for the starving civilians. This was certainly a big deal at the time, a sustainable source of food. But with everything else going on in Year 1, it was easy to have forgotten this. However, with the threat of radiation, along with the growing need for food, the mention of Mari and her fishery is no coincidence. She and her aquarium are something that we're going to have to fight for going forward. I don't usually do this, but I'm going to play the trailer and discuss what I think could be important going forward.
We got used to winning, to defeating our enemies, or turning them to our cause.
Schaefer is still in a coma, so I don't believe we'll be seeing anything from him this season. I could be wrong here, he may make an appearance later, but I don't think this will be the case this Manhunt.
But now they have their own alliance, led by Sokolova. And if the mastermind of the Black Tusk is coming to Washington, it will be to eliminate the division. That's why she needs Stovepipe. They don't care about the cost.
This Agent Watch scene is something I pointed out on Twitter and Instagram. It shows that there are more than just trophies for the hunters, that they are drawing intel from them. But what? They already seem to know everything about each agent, especially given that Calvin McManus, as the Secretary of Homeland Security, has had all of this information around the division agents. So what information are they gathering? Somewhat off topic, I'm seriously considering setting up my recording studio like this. I feel it would really put me in the zone.
Only who wins.
And finally, we have the White House going dark. To me at least, this symbolizes an attack, or at the very least, the DC base of operations is being targeted and brought to its knees. Maybe this is the end of Schaefer, due to the power supply being cut. I don't think so though, or at least I hope not. There is a reason they've kept him alive in the story for this long. But I think this could be the answer to all of my questions around the castle settlement. It's probably a bit of a stretch, but that's never held me back before. I think the White House is finally going to come under attack. I've been questioning this for quite a while. The Black Tusks certainly have the overwhelming manpower and equipment to do this. Up until the castle settlement being restored, the White House appears to have been run by a skeleton crew, as the JTF numbers have dropped so low. Perhaps them sending so many people to rebuilding the castle settlement is the reason it's finally being attacked. I don't know, but whatever happens, I think the castle is going to be our new base of operations, even if just temporarily, while recapturing the White House. Lieutenant Martin Bantam's background as a US Army drone operator gave him a unique perspective on warfare. He was able to control unmanned aerial vehicles and use them to target enemy combatants without ever setting foot on the battlefield. However, as time went on, Bantam would become desensitized to the violence he was causing from afar. As he transitioned to become a member of the True Sons, Bantam continued to use his skills to target enemies from a safe distance. However, his beliefs about responsibility began to morph into a twisted justification for his actions. Bantam convinced himself that he was not responsible for the deaths caused by his drone strikes, as long as he did not physically see blood on his hands. He was able to ignore the fact that his actions were causing real-life consequences for other human beings. This cognitive disconnect allowed him to continue his violent behavior without any remorse. It's clear that Bantam's mindset is a dangerous one. By disconnecting himself from the reality of the situation and the harm he's causing, he's able to justify his violent actions and become a danger to those around him. Lieutenant Martin Bantam is a cautionary tale about the dangers of detachment in warfare and how it can lead to dangerous beliefs and behaviors. Prior to the operation, Bantam expressed his doubts about collaborating with the Black Tusk. He had always been a loyal True Son, but the recent alliance with the Black Tusk had made him uneasy. He knew that their ultimate goal was to gain control of the capital and rule it with an iron fist, but he wasn't sure that their method was something that he was able to be a part of.
True Sons and Black Tusk are set up on the Potomac and ready to deploy, General. Thank you, Bantam. Hold tight. What are we waiting for? Wish I could tell you. Above my pay grade or above yours too, sir? It's need to know. But do you know? I know enough. Are you sure about these people, sir? I'm sure that if we want to win this war, Lieutenant, we need allies. But these allies? Do you have enough food? Yes. Do you have housing and clean clothes? Yes. Do you have enough weapons and medical supplies? Yes. Do you have enough mortars? Enough to level the city. So, do you feel like you have the tools and resources at your disposal to win this war? Absolutely. How do you feel about our new allies now? Better, General. Good. Hold tight and wait for orders.
He was torn between his loyalty to the True Sons and the practical benefits of working with the Black Tusk, but ultimately, he knew that the True Sons couldn't have kept going in the way that they were. Their resources were dwindling, and their situation was becoming increasingly dire. The True Sons were in desperate need of a game changer, and this could be it.
In this Initial recon sweeps are complete. Any updates on our friend? Captain Lewis has been moving between the White House and the castle. Castle? The castle settlement? Yes, sir. What about the DC-62? Extensive decontamination efforts have been made since Captain Wilson's attack. Looks like they're getting ready to reopen the settlement. Oh. Well, good for them. Wally's been seen at the castle as well. Makes sense. They were always close. No news on the other target. Natalia'd like to hear that from you. Do you mind giving her a call? There's nothing to tell. Well, she'd like to hear it from you. I'd rather not. Why not? Sir, she scares the shit out of me.
Any updates?
No, ma'am.
Eyes on the target?
No, ma'am.
Do we at least have confirmation that he's still on site?
No, ma'am.
Do we have anything?
We have footage of him being brought back to the White House after Coney Island. He was badly injured. No aerial footage since.
Is he still alive?
No way to confirm it this time. If he's alive, they never let him outside.
Bantam's aerial drones have shown what is happening at the castle settlement and the huge efforts going into rebuilding it, but also the movements going both in and out of the White House. They are now very aware of Captain Lewis's involvement with the castle being rebuilt, as well as Wally. They are also now aware that Barton Schaefer was taken to the White House, but they have no idea if he is still alive or not. I wonder if my suspicions are correct about the White House coming under attack. Could the potential for Schaefer to be alive with all the secrets he holds be the reason they attack?
If we want to retrofit more mortars, I'm gonna need more DC-62. Thank you for telling me, Lieutenant. General, does that mean you're gonna send more DC-62? Yeah, at this point, contamination threats may not be in our best interests. Visible contamination. What are you implying? Rumors about radiation, sir. Oh, rumors? What rumors? About the plant? No, St. Louis. What about St. Louis? You really don't know, do you? Excuse me? There's nothing to know. I can't tell if you're full of shit or your new friend is teaching you to be a fantastic fucking liar. Watch your tone, Lieutenant. I don't give a fuck about my tone. I want to know if I need to worry about radiation poisoning, sir.
This comms continues the rumors that were started in the Chunks manhunt, and while we know that the attack on St. Louis aren't just rumors, I'm beginning to think that this isn't just a nice crossover to the novels. This is going to feature more heavily going forward, but I really can't put my finger on how at this point. Dirty bombs? Radiation? How would this assist either side going forward if these were brought to DC or New York? Or maybe that's the point. Perhaps those crazy bastards known as the Outcasts are going to be the reason for the Black Tusk and the Division to call a truce for a little while. But if that was the case, why is McManus, Sokolova, and maybe Anderson trying to hide it from everyone? Following the successful elimination of their first target, Chunks, Division agents quickly received intel on Lieutenant Martin Bantam's whereabouts. It was revealed that he was actively operating within the Foggy Bottom district of Washington, D.C., which prompted agents to launch a full-scale operation to take down the True Sun outposts in the area. With each outpost that was taken down, the agents gathered more information about Bantam's location, which eventually led them to the heavily defended compound of the Potomac Event Center. The True Suns were abundant in supply, and it was clear that this was going to be a challenging mission. Despite the odds, the Division agents were well prepared and had the necessary equipment to take on the heavily fortified compound. The White Death, with its overpowered talent, determined, proved to be a game-changer, and it felt more like target practice than an actual battle. As agents made their way through the compound, they eventually came face-to-face with Bantam himself. In an uncharacteristic move, Bantam decided to engage in the fight himself, showing a level of courage that was unexpected from someone who had previously hidden behind a screen. However, his efforts were no match for the well-trained Division agents. With one swift bullet to the face, Bantam was taken out of commission. It's unclear whether he would have put up much of a resistance if he hadn't engaged in the fight, but the agents were relieved to have completed their mission successfully. The elimination of Bantam would bring them one step closer to tracking down their main target, Stovepipe. Mort Curse Kellogg's life took a turn for the worse when he developed a serious gambling problem. He found himself in debt to loan sharks before he even graduated from high school, and the debts only grew larger as time went on. Eventually he realized that he needed to do something drastic to get out of debt and avoid his collectors, so he enlisted in the army. He was deployed to the Dagger complex in Darmstadt, Germany, where he quickly became known for his logistical expertise. He had a natural talent for managing supplies, and his superiors took notice. However, Cursed was never able to shake his gambling habit. Even in Germany, he continued to gamble on sports and other events, often putting himself further into debt. When the green poison was released, Cursed was on a weekend trip to Copenhagen and Malmö, where he bought a Euro jackpot lottery ticket. He played his lucky numbers and forgot about the ticket until the drawing the following Friday. To his amazement, all of his numbers came up, but his excitement was short-lived as he learned about the viral outbreak that was rapidly spreading across the globe. Cursed's luck seemed to have run out, but fate had other plans. He would eventually join the Black Tusk and become one of their highest-ranking logistics officers. His expertise in managing supplies and resources made him invaluable to the organization, and he quickly rose through the ranks. His gambling habit may have put him in debt, but it also gave him a natural talent for taking calculated risks, something that would serve him well in this new position. As a member of the Black Tusk, Cursed was instrumental in many of their operations, using his expertise to help the organization acquire the resources they needed to accomplish their goals. Despite his past, he had become a respected and trusted member of the group, and his loyalty to the cause was never in question.
You want me to reach out to Bantam or Kaplan?
Kaplan. Bantam seems nervous.
A lot of these true sons defected.
They did. Looks like they weren't as loyal to Anderson as he thought.
The trouble with following a charismatic leader. When you lose the leader, you lose your following.
Agreed.
Best part of working for a faceless organization. You're beholden to a power structure, not a narcissist.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
No sarcasm. I signed on for the big picture.
Safety and security.
You know me so well.
I do. And that's why I think you're the right person to reach out to Kaplan. We need to weed out potential traitors in our midst.
You worried she's a traitor?
No. I think she's got the right access, psychology, and skill set to spot them.
Natalia is looking for any more potential traitors within the True Sons, and believes Kaplan could be the one to find them. This comms piece also shows the sort of loyalty Cursed has with Natalia and the Black Tusk.
No updates on Schaefer.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm Bantam's report.
Is he gonna be a problem?
I don't think so. He's too afraid of me to betray me.
I don't know how anyone can be afraid of you.
That's because you've never been on the receiving end of my wrath, Cursed.
That's true. You have saved my life on more than one occasion.
Have you found anything?
Only thing I note, I've seen some specialized medical equipment going in and out of the White House. Could be for Schaefer, could be nothing. No way to tell without infiltrating the White House.
That's a suicide mission. Stick to recon for now.
Confirmation that someone's in a coma.
But you can't confirm it is Schaefer?
That's unfortunately correct.
Source?
We apprehended one of the cooks.
And how does that confirm a coma patient?
They were instructed to make meals for tube feeding and maintain feedline sanitation.
But they never installed the line or saw the patient?
That's correct. Said that there was restricted access to his room.
Who has clearance?
Manny, Kelso, Dr. Summers, and our old friend, Captain Lewis.
Well, he sure fell into favor quickly.
Is there an opportunity there?
Perhaps. He's been turned before. Men like that aren't the most loyal.
Captain Lewis has shifted loyalties twice in the past. We abandoned the JTF for the True Sons, and then once again more recently when he teamed up with the Division. Natalia sees this as a potential opportunity. They still haven't confirmed that Schaefer is in there, but they're certainly getting close. It's seeming more and more likely that if this attack on the White House does happen, that Schaefer is going to be the reason for it. Natalia knows that he has too much intel to give if he was to ever wake up.
Are you worried about radiation? You've been talking to Chunks, haven't you? No, Stovepipe. Just take your iodine and calm down. You don't think the rumors are true? About St. Louis? Yeah, I think anytime people tell you a rumor is just a rumor, they're trying to cover something up. So yeah, I think the rumors are true. Shit, don't worry about St. Louis. Worry about Fairview. Why? You've seen the way they handle the nuclear waste. No. They would have told us. Brother, I think your helmet's on too tight.
I'm still not sure how the events in St. Louis would tie into the story yet. I don't see us heading over there, but maybe it'll have something to do with the future conflicts against the Outcasts. However, what I find more interesting is the reference to Fairview Power Plant, not just from Cursed, but also from Wally right after receiving these comms.
Ever since we lost Major Castillo, that place has gone to shit. I get why he had to take him out. That man's grief drove him to some really dark places.
When Major Castillo was taken out, there wasn't really anyone to look after the plant. Yes, he trained a few of the True Sons to keep things running, but this was never going to be adequate in the long term. Bantam's training as a nuke more than justifies his concerns. However, he's now gone too. Natalia is a smart lady. Surely she is aware of what's happening here. But what is she planning? Forget DC-62 or even the green poison. Radiation and dirty bombs could soon be the problem. And as far as I'm aware, I don't think the division has anyone qualified to fix it, so we can't exactly storm the area. As the division agents received intel on Mort Cursed Kellogg's whereabouts, they quickly mobilized and headed towards Constitution Hall, where the Black Tusk was conducting their operations. The team had to move cautiously and strategically, taking down various outposts one by one throughout the district to ensure their cover wasn't blown. Once they cleared the outposts, the agents discovered that Cursed had moved to Tidal Basin, a heavily fortified area controlled by the Black Tusk. The team had their work cut out for them, but they were determined to take down the enemy and put an end to their plans. They encountered fierce resistance as they made their way through the area, but their extensive training and superior equipment proved to be too much. Eventually Cursed would make his presence known and approach the agents, exceptionally slowly. At this point, it's hard not to feel sorry for Mort Cursed Kellogg. Not only did he have a gambling addiction that would eventually result in him being placed into this very position the agents are facing right now, but he would also be trolled by the Black Tusk, who would put him in the hilariously clunky armor with a belt-fed minigun that the agents were more than familiar with by now. After clearing his entourage, the agents spent a little bit of time playing with their prey, until they eventually decided to show him how it was done by pulling out their own minigun and blasting holes straight through his armor.
Identification confirmed. Mort Cursed Kellogg. Status deceased.
Beatrice Auntie Kaplan, with her deceptively sweet and unassuming presence, harbors a dark and dangerous side that lurks beneath the surface. Mocking the conventional expectations of society, Kaplan, having no desire to have children, would often joke about a future as an eccentric old cat lady. During basic training, at the first target practice session, a new recruit playfully gave her the name Auntie. Shortly after, this new recruit, as well as Kaplan, would be involved in what she called a reloading accident that would ultimately claim the recruit's life. Any doubts of whether the incident was actually an accident would be cleared up after she shamelessly seized the opportunity to wield her newfound infamy. Insisting that everyone address her as Auntie, she sought to instill a sense of fear and respect from those around her. Auntie showed no guilt or remorse for her actions, and instead used it as a stark reminder of the ever-present danger and mortality that haunted their lives if they crossed her, but also to solidify her position of power and dominance within the ranks. When she heard news about the True Sons aligning themselves with the Black Tusk, she was most excited about the fact that she would no longer go by the name Petty Officer Kaplan, and instead have people continue to refer to her as Auntie.
We're in position, fully stocked and awaiting orders, General.
Thank you, Kaplan.
Auntie.
Right. Thank you, Auntie.
No problem, General. About those orders?
Continue to do perimeter sweeps of all known division-controlled locations and look for any weak spots or opportunities.
And if I find any, you want me to move in or report back?
Observe and report for now. Natalia has a plan, and we need to support her vision.
Do we get to know what that vision is?
Eventually, when the time is right. We still don't know who we can trust. This alliance is too new, and Lewis has unfortunately brought too many people to his side.
You worried about Bantam?
Should I be?
Well, is he still insisting you call him Lieutenant Bantam?
Yes.
It's like switching teams. Just because you put on the uniform, it doesn't make you a part of the team. And if you won't even put on the uniform, how much do you really want to be on the new team?
Right. Good point, Auntie.
Permission to go off base.
Why?
I want to meet Cursed in person.
Permission denied.
I just need 2 hours. We can find a neutral place to meet.
Why do you want to meet him?
He reached out. Wants me to help root out the rest of the rats and traitors.
We talking about Bantam again?
No. Bantam's too chicken shit to do anything. He'll die before he grows the balls to defy orders.
I don't know about that.
He's harmless. I mean, unless you order him to kill people, then he's actually pretty good at his job. But he's not one to get original ideas.
And if a bad actor gets in his ear?
Oh, well, then yeah, he can be easily manipulated. You want me to keep tabs on him, just in case?
That might not be a bad idea. But quietly, remotely. Don't let him know you're watching.
That's the only way I know how to watch. Permission denied.
Why?
Worried I'll draw too much attention? Need to stay on mission? Worried I'll get distracted or something? Who knows?
That's too bad. I was really looking forward to meeting you.
Me too. Is it true you were stationed in Germany when this all went down?
It is.
You ever see combat before this?
I've been deployed.
What's your number?
Before this, 20 or 30. After 50, I stopped counting.
Really?
Yeah. Too hard to keep track.
Not for me.
What's your number?
372.
Were you deployed before this?
Nope. Went through basic and joined the Guard, but never got to see any real action until the JTF was activated.
372 kills this year? That's impressive.
371. Actually.
These comms are just a continuation of the conversations Cursed was having with Natalia. She has asked Cursed to get in touch with Auntie and use her to help weed out the traitors. These are all showing that Natalia doesn't hold the True Sons in particularly high regard, especially after Captain Lewis jumped ship with a large group of the True Sons. It also shows that Natalia continues to have absolutely no confidence in General Anderson. He is being left completely in the dark, and now has her men going around him in order to discuss plans with certain True Sons.
You lied to me.
You need to be more specific, Stovepipe.
I know about the dirty bombs.
What about them?
Your little experiment here? Someone stole it and used it in St. Louis.
What experiment?
The goddamn dirty bombs, Natalia!
Stovepipe? I have never approved experimental dirty bombs. Perhaps the isolation is getting to you?
You're full of shit, Natalia.
I do not appreciate your tone.
I don't give a shit. Get me out of here. I'm done.
Finish setting up the base at Coney Island, and I'll send a relief team to finish your mission in New York. We can sort out this confusion when you get back to base.
Through this interaction, we learn of the location of Stovepipe, Coney Island. It sounds like he is setting up a base for an attack on New York City. With all of these past comms this season, it appears Natalia could be planning to use dirty bombs on the city. Obviously, Stovepipe isn't particularly happy about this and chooses to call her out. And who can blame him? Everything we've heard has led us to similar suspicions. One thing is for certain though, the disrespect he has shown, there is no way Natalia will let that slide. Auntie's downfall started with a tip that reached the division agents, revealing her presence in Washington DC's West End district. With this information in hand, the agents embarked on a mission to dismantle the True Sun outposts, progressing through until they eventually find out that Auntie was located on Roosevelt Island. The island stood as a daunting challenge for the determined agents, but undeterred by the overwhelming odds, they pressed forward, navigating the treacherous landscape of the compound. The area had been heavily fortified by the True Sons, presenting a formidable challenge for the agents to overcome. But step by step, they would push through and eventually close in on Auntie. However, in typical Division agent fashion, they would shoot first and ask questions later. They actually didn't get a visual confirmation on the target before one-shotting something through some foliage. They would have to run to the other side of the map to confirm it was her, and with this target down and all available intel gathered, the agents would be able to move on to the main target, Stovepipe. Though I hope her sister doesn't seek revenge, I don't think that fight would go down in quite the same way. Zachary Stovepipe Beatty possessed a unique and dangerous fascination with explosives that would eventually shape his path in unexpected ways. Trained as an explosive ordnance disposal specialist, or EOD, he initially immersed himself in the study of demolitions out of sheer passion. While his primary duty was to neutralize explosive threats, Stovepipe's insatiable curiosity led him down a dark path. As he delved deeper into his field, Stovepipe's obsession with the destructive power of explosives grew. He meticulously collected schematics, prototypes, and classified information on increasingly unstable improvised explosive devices. He pushed the boundaries of his knowledge, exploring the most hazardous and volatile designs, all in the pursuit of a fascination with watching the world burn. Surprisingly, Stovepipe's unorthodox collection didn't lead to the expected consequences. Instead of facing a court-martial for his dangerous hobby, his commanding officer recognized the potential value of his expertise and connections. This recognition ultimately sparked an unexpected turn of events when the Black Tusk took notice of Stovepipe's unique skills and approached him with an intriguing proposition. The Black Tusk saw in Stovepipe a person who shared their desire to exploit chaos for their own gain. They recognized his uncanny ability to navigate the world of destructive technology and the potential for him to become a valuable asset in their operations. Drawn to the allure of power, Stovepipe accepted the invitation to join the ranks of the Black Tusk. It was within this organization that his expertise in explosives would find its true purpose.
In position. Inventory assessment complete.
How are we looking on mortars?
Even with the 2 new teams, we have more than enough to maintain control of the shipping lanes.
That's very good. Let me know if we need to pull in additional resources.
Will do. But honestly, this feels like overkill to secure the river.
Better to overkill than be killed.
Funny. You need anything else from me?
Not at this time, Stovepipe.
Can't you just call me Zach?
Wouldn't be professional, Stovepipe.
I hate that nickname.
Most people hate their nicknames.
You didn't make Faye take a nickname.
Faye was special.
And what am I?
Reliable.
Presumably on Coney Island, Stovepipe updates Natalia on the status of the setup, including the mortar launchers that they'll be using to keep hold of the river.
Why do you want to know that?
Professional curiosity.
No, there is no way to use dirty bombs in our mortar launchers without contaminating the launcher.
That's what I thought. I just wanted confirmation.
I don't like this hypothetical question.
It's just a question.
It's a fucked up question.
That's the world.
Is this about St. Louis?
What do you know about St. Louis?
Dirty bomb attack on a convoy.
Rumors. Conjecture and fear-mongering to keep people from moving through the Midwest.
You sure?
Let me sort through the propaganda. You just keep digging through that intel and see if there's anything we can use.
You got it, boss. Why?
Humor me.
There is no safe way to house this shit long term.
Short term.
Do you care if people die?
Of course.
Then concrete and lead-lined crates that no one touches without full radioactive protection at all times, with decontamination showers after, then deconstruct, destroy, and bury the launchers after use. It doesn't make sense. The risk isn't worth it unless you want people to die of radiation poisoning.
Thank you, Stovepipe.
Seriously, is this about St. Louis? Was that us?
It was not us.
So it's true. St. Louis happened.
Of course it happened.
Why did you lie to me?
You didn't need to know.
These comms are obviously from before Stovepipe's outburst in the comms that we heard while hunting down Auntie. He brings up St. Louis twice, and Natalia even admits to lying about the events that happened there. This, on top of Natalia's questions about radiation and dirty bombs, he is right to be nervous. If this is what Natalia is planning, agents realize they need to close in on his position, and fast. When agents arrived on the island, it was quiet. Too quiet. In fact, there were no enemies at all, and sensors indicate that Stovepipe hasn't moved since the agents arrived. Eventually they would catch up to Stovepipe, except someone had beat them to it. He was already dead. It was a trap. From the Black Tusk hovercraft in the distance, a swarm of drones, as well as a couple of Marauder-class quadcopters, were launched on the agent's position. Agents attempt to reach the extraction point, but wave after wave of drones, mini-tanks, warhounds, automated turrets, and a heap of EMPs are blocking their way. They manage to quickly push through, but before Torres is able to pick them up, there is one small enemy that needs to be removed. But don't let the name fool you, that motherfucker is Satan's hellhound. And here I go a little off story and break the immersion. My wife slash manager told me I should probably remove this part because it's a little bit off brand. But I promised a few of you that I wouldn't hold back on my emotions and true feelings about this part of the mission. So the following are actual clips of my first few playthroughs. Let's just call this an intermission, but feel free to skip forward a minute or so to continue with the story. Just f*** off, but for f***'s sake. Avocado. For f***'s sake. Why? Fucking... Hey, Alpha Bravo, keen to jump on for a few minutes just to finish off the manhunt? Won't take long.
Yeah, man, give me a moment. Why does he keep chasing me? What the f*** is wrong with this damn thing?
You got this. He's actually not so bad when you're not being chased by him.
Are you dead again?
Yeah, I am. The fact that his name is Sparkles only makes it that much worse. After the agents managed to put a stop to the final target on Coney Island, comfortably, definitely without getting close to rage quitting several times, Torres was about to come in and extract them. However, this is when the true depth of this situation really came to light. While the agents have been playing at the dog park, the Black Tusk have attacked the White House. It all makes sense now. Stovepipe and the whole attack on Coney Island was just a distraction. Sokolova was waiting until the agents were off site before taking down the network and then attacking the White House. The only reason they are able to communicate and use skills now is because of Wally's mobile SHD server. Fighting through the outskirts, agents make their way through the Black Tusk forces to meet up with Kelso at the White House. As the agents make it to the gates, they watch as several Black Tusk helicopters depart, with one of them carrying the perfusion bioreactor. At the compound, they come across a Razorback that has been set up on the White House lawn. After a surprisingly short encounter, given what has been experienced through this manhunt so far, agents would make their way through to the White House alongside Alani Kelso. What they found was a massacre. While all of the Black Tusk had cleared out from the compound, the agents were left with the stark reality of what had just occurred. Along with many others, Captain Lewis had given his life to protect the JTF and the base of operations. Through echoes on site, the agents were able to see that Lewis had made the ultimate sacrifice in order to give Manny the time to escape and hide with Schaefer. While Lewis was comfortably holding his own, it would seem that one of Natalia's hunters was able to sneak up on him and take him down by surprise. Kelso and Agent Sanders, someone we haven't seen since the Pentagon mission, approached the panic room. There, Schaefer and Manny had been hiding out. Schaefer needs to be returned to his bed, and while on their way, Manny and Kelso discuss how the Black Tusk was able to take down the network. Manny acknowledges that he overheard someone saying that the countermeasures worked perfectly. They know that Schaefer was the target, but as long as they have the mobile SHD server, while limited in range, their skills and comms are working. The next step is to get the White House defenses back online and find out whether this SHD network blackout is just local or is in fact a global shutdown.
I'm impressed. Credit where credit is due. You and your little team of misfits managed to decrypt my comms. You passed the test. Manny, you really do have an eye for talent. First Schaefer, then Lewis, and Wally. Imagine my surprise when I discovered you even managed to recruit Vic. I thought you hated him after what happened at Odea. But here you are, welcoming old enemies into your house, and giving them the literal keys to the castle. I haven't decided if you're a genius with boundless empathy or a moron who actually believes that people can change. People don't change. Most of the time, if you think someone has changed, it's because you never really saw them. You never look close enough to see if the person staring back at you is genuine or is hiding their true intentions. That's why you're so easy to fool, and why I will always be 2 steps ahead of you. I have the Black Tusk, the real true sons, and the hunters at my disposal, while your agents have civilians chasing water bottles. By the way, thank you for sending your agents all the way to Coney Island to check on Stovepipe. It's too bad you couldn't recruit him too. But he forgot his place in my organization, and I do not tolerate disrespect. Since you may be a moron, I'm going to make my intentions very clear. This city, this country, this world belongs to us. We will take what is rightfully ours, and there is nothing you can do to stop us. Isn't that right, Vic?
Fuck you, Nat! What did you do with Mari and Cindy?
Don't worry, Vic. I wouldn't hurt them. They're too valuable to the future of my operation. It's not every day you find a woman who can build and operate a fish farm. She really is quite the catch, Manny. When you're ready to surrender, I would be more than happy to reunite you 2 lovebirds. I hear stress can do terrible things to a pregnancy, especially in older women. Manny, if you really do love her, you might want to hurry. Oh, an agent? I hope to see you soon.
This single, long, condescending comms pretty much explains everything. All intel we've been receiving throughout this manhunt has been compromised. This whole time, everything we've been listening to has led us to this setup, to have us removed from the equation so that the Black Tusk can sweep in and clean out the White House while Mummy and Daddy weren't home. It's unlikely that Natalia had anything to do with the dirty bomb attacks in St. Louis. It was just the easiest way of getting our attention. But it isn't to say that all references to the Recruited novel were just there to scare us into moving out. But I'll get into that a little more soon. Natalia has also confirmed that she has Vikram Malik, a name that we briefly heard about earlier on after he betrayed us at the Odia Tech building, as well as Mari Singh, someone we suspected would have a larger part to play after several comms messages this season alone. She not only leads the team at the Central Aquarium, one of DC's only sustainable food sources, but she is pregnant with Manny's child. We're going to have to be careful with any direction coming from him. After the loss of his friend, and now this, he's going to be a mess. But there was one other name that Natalia mentioned, a name I didn't recognize, Cindy. I'm not going to lie, if this is the person Natalia took, I hadn't really paid her much attention up until now. Based in the White House, Cindy is a drone operator that has been involved in scouting and alerting agents to numerous threats in DC. It was also her drone that worked the coordinated JTF and SHD work on Coney Island when extracting Vitaly Tronenko, as well as the drone that was hacked by Aaron Keener before he escaped. I'm not overly sure what Natalia is hoping to gain from Cindy, but I'm sure we'll be finding out soon. On the way into the White House, Black Tusk operatives could be heard saying, "The countermeasure is still active." And while Manny is wheeling Schaefer out of the panic room, he says, "I overheard someone say the countermeasures worked perfectly." Given all of the references to the Recruited novel this season, I feel that it's pretty safe to say that this is another reference to Thomas Parrott's work. In the novel, the countermeasure is the program Myra used to neutralize the rogue network and tech at the Kansas core. This essentially keeps the core from being destroyed by deactivating the EMP failsafes. Natalia has obviously managed to recover Myra's code and has used it to shut down the network and attack the White House. So my question, how did Natalia get a hold of this? I don't recall anything in Compromised, although I'm now going to read it for the 4th time just to confirm this. This will probably be one of those things I bug Thomas Parrott and Lauren Stone about over the coming weeks. I've actually held back on fully talking about the novels out of respect for the author and spoilers, etc. But now that we've reached the end of the first novel, in-game, maybe it's time I have a run-through. A fantastic ending to Season 11 and Year 4. There are a number of things that we're left wondering about, like the perfusion bioreactor, Agent Sanders, Cindy McAllister, Mari Singh, Vikram Malik, and not to mention that we haven't heard much from Calvin McManus for a while. The Year 5 roadmap has already been announced. Yeah, the naming conventions have changed, so I'm going to need to change all the titles on these videos, or it will become very confusing. Anyway, Season 1 shows us that we'll be focusing on Mari Singh and the aquarium, with an update on what happened with Aaron Keener in Season 3. People seem to really like these compilation videos, and I get it. I fall asleep listening to documentaries, etc. The longer and more monotone, the better. I don't care how you're watching my videos. I'm sure you're absorbing some of the info in your sleep. Maybe I should make a compilation of the compilation videos into a sort of super compilation. That would be like 4.5 hours long on just the story across seasons 1 to 11. Anyway, as always, I very much appreciate your viewership, especially if you managed to make it this far. Once again, a big thank you to those who are able to go that extra mile and support the channel through Patreon or YouTube memberships. I keep getting asked about a Discord page, and yes, I used to have one in the past, but it got very challenging to maintain as the numbers started getting up there. But what about a smaller, more personal one for the patrons and members? Just a thought at this stage, but let me know. Thanks again, and I'll catch you soon in the next one. Extremis Malus, Extrema Remedia.